Ladies and gentlemen, it's Greg Allison. Hello, Swivelheads. Tonight we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about socialism. We're going to talk about Mamdani's win, Mamdani's win in New York City, and what it's going to mean for New York City, the threat it poses to the United States, and evils of socialism. We're going to talk about why he won. And, some adjustments need to be made in the messages of those who don't abide by the teachings or the beliefs of those who follow socialism. Now, socialism sounds great on paper. Socialism is, you know, it sounds wonderful on paper, theoretically. And that is why, in part, maybe it's favored by the more theoretical academia in our society, the elites. They position themselves as thinking they're above everybody else and all knowing, but they have little practical experience in real life. They have it, they dream and fantasize about what poverty is, but most of them have never been there. And that includes Mamdani. Excuse me, I'm hoarse. I've been sick. But basically, uh, they don't understand the plight that they put people in. And and the people that subscribe this and buy into it, they buy into it because it just sounds good. Maybe because they're not getting a fair deal in society, because there are problems in our society today and they're looking for answers. But this is not where the answers lie. They blame capitalism for all the shortcomings that we see today, but I have long warned people that capitalism, free market capitalism, is not the problem. We don't have free market capitalism in this nation. We have corporatism. I've been saying this for years on this channel and on my Green Greg's channel. I've done quite a few uh, videos where I have gone in depth explaining these things. What do I mean by corporatism? Well, you just look, the corporations are in league with the government. And that kind of smacks of that big N word. But, especially when it gets socialistic. What does that N word stand for? I'm talking about the NA word, not the NI word. An NA word is probably more loaded than NI word because people want to off people on basis of various interpretations of who fits NA and who don't, which is a tragedy that we're facing in our society today. There's a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people are thinking that guilt is an excuse to dehumanize people and attack them. Human beings, their fellow human beings, their neighbors, and that's an awful thing. So I want to talk about these things while it's still fresh. Um, we'll talk a little bit about corporatism. Corporatism is a problem, and there's many roads to it. The WEF is a big road to corporatism, and who's heading the WEF right now? None other than Larry Fink. Who does he represent? BlackRock. What does BlackRock do? They buy houses. They're buying lots of houses all over the world. They're buying people's houses. And scale? How how are they able to do that? Pardon me, guys. How are they able to do that? They're able to do that because I gave some more. They're able to do that because they can borrow money far cheaper than anyone else. And they can outcompete anyone in buying houses. They select certain markets to dominate. And they would love nothing better than to see WEF's proposition that no one would own anything because they would own it all. There's a deception in all this, a big deception that a lot of the people that are pushing the movement don't seem to get. They don't seem to realize who's funding, who are the funders behind all these pushes for socialism, communism. It's the uber elite. It's the Soros and all those uber elite guys who go to the WEF. They followed the House of Klaus, now Larry Fink. And What they really after isn't what people think they're after. Do you think they're pushing all this and buying up things the way they are and taking centralized control of everything just to create a socialist system where everything is fair and equitable? You think they're going to give up everything they're investing in? No. When you own nothing, it's going to mean somebody else owns it. It's not going to be the government. Typically, under socialism, communism, especially communism, the owners are the state. But somehow they're going to work. They believe you me, they're controlling the puppet strings. If they weren't, they wouldn't be funding it. So there's a big deception there. But even if it was the state, the answer would not be good. Corporatism is when a few corporations, it's your trust, your monopolies. It's when a few corporations manage to monopolize markets and eliminate competition, to eliminate the free market. True capitalism is a free market. And sometimes you have to keep it fresh so that the free market forces still flow. And what they've done is they've eliminated that. They've got in with the government, like the big, who did Eisenhower warned us about the military industrial complex. And we got these giant defense companies that make zillions of dollars producing. We need national defense, but they make so much money defending the country, producing, these extraordinarily expensive missiles that we really can't even afford them. And then when we may find ourselves in a shooting war with China, we can't produce them fast enough because they're so complex, they're so expensive, and we not kept them in production the way we needed to. Whereas the real revolutions in modern warfare is uber cheap drones. That is the future of warfare. It's not all these super sophisticated, super expensive missiles. It's drones and uh, artillery shells, and those things that come out of the end of bang bangs, which I call nugs because you feed them, which I call kibbles because you feed them to nugs. And take that word and flip it around if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're new to the channel here. So I'll go in the chat room a little bit, but let me just kind of get through my main propositions here. The situation is that socialism makes a false promise. Communism makes false promises. But these guys who are promoting it don't even intend that. If they did, why would they be promoting? Let me put some light in here. Why would they be promoting it? What would they be up to? There we go. A little light in here. Why would they really be out there pushing this stuff? It's because they're wanting their monopoly. I've referred to it as neo-feudalism. I've got in trouble for mentioning that on this platform. But, and now I'm highly entertained to hear somebody on the left basically copying my language and talking about how they draw the ladders up, which is the words I said years ago. They plan to fix it where nobody else is going to get the top, but the ones that's already there. But it's going to be through somewhat through corporatism. It can do it through socialism. They got more than one road. They can play the left or the right. But as long as they get their end goal, they don't care how they get there, as long as they wind up on top and nobody can touch them. And that's not going to serve anybody's purpose or anybody's freedom, because they still want to get back to that what looks like socialism where nobody owns nothing. Even if they supposedly put it over to the state, they're going to have some kind of trust or some way where they're still the beneficiaries and they're still the uber elite. If you don't believe that, then you got your head in the sand. Why else would they be promoting it the way they do? They've got a game and plan. Like the Kennedys, they put everything in trust. So that's what I'm expecting. It's going to be some kind of trust, or this just be out and out ownership. And it's probably the latter. They'll pull some kind of switcheroo to make sure they're on top, because they're going to have the cards at that point if it's allowed. Now there's ways around that. The ways around that are support your. I've said this a zillion times. Support your mom and pop shops. Support your local farmers. Go to the farmers market and buy stuff. Grow your own food. Check out my links that I post so often to the Tree Leaf Market and grow your own. Watch my old videos on Green Greg's channel on how to raise worms and grow stuff, my old videos, because I show you how to grow stuff without even having to go to the store in case there's a grid down or you just need the independence. Yeah, worms do play a critical, worms and composting play a critical part of that, my friends. So you can do a lot with that. And I'll be working on making worms available to you. I'm working on a deal for that too with a friend of mine, partner. All right. So, uh, and I'm also going to work up another deal. You know, we're all buying stuff. Walmart, everything's been centralized. Walmart has centralized retail. Walmart and Amazon have centralized retail. When the bug, which I got right now, right back in 2019, 2020 went around. It's interesting how they could shut down all the mom and pop shops, telling people that there was risky to get sick. Yet Walmart could stay open, where lots of people got congregated. Seems to me that was right the opposite. But that was the little game they play. What did it do? Shut down a lot of small businesses. Who else are they after? The small farms. You look at states like Oregon. Look at how much they attack small farms. Hey, New Days. Difference between socialism and communism. Socialism is suicide, and communism is murder. Oh, communist societies are known for that, big time. There's something called democracy. Where does it occur? In those countries. Yeah, just look how many of their own people they've offed. Some people think Stalin off 60 million. Some people think Mao off somewhere upwards of 80 million. Look at Pol Pot, what, a third or half of his population of Cambodia? Horrendous. Even the Communism Party in America talked about having to eliminate 25% of the people here. So that, and they think this is all justifiable in order to achieve this greater good. But you show me a communist society that anybody wants to be in when they're locked into it. Show me one. Name one. Show me a successful socialist society. They all fail. Everybody wants to point to the Nordic countries. Well, they're really capitalist and they've backed away from their socialism. Yeah, they still have a pretty heavy tax structure and they still have some welfare and things like that, but it's not what a lot of people think it is. They kind of backed away. They learned some lessons about where they were at on some of this stuff. Uh, so, why is it socialism don't work? Because like I said, it's nice in theory. Communism supposedly has this credo. Uh, to each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Problem is, there's no incentive on the ability side. There's no incentive to produce because it just gets taken from you. And very progressive tax structures do the same thing. They remove the incentive to innovate and produce to a great deal. Now, a lot of the elites like to erroneously point to the era of Roosevelt and Roosevelt socialism and say, look, this built America. What built America was the following: heavy investment in American industry to fight World War II. At first, we had a big market sending munitions and weapons to Europe, Great Britain. And, pardon me. So there was a big market. We industrialized heavily before we got involved in that war. And it built our economy. It was a war economy at first. We borrowed against our future, but it paid off because to us, because at the end of the war, no one else was left standing. We were the world's superpower, sole standing superpower, the world's factory, which today belongs to China. We were the world's oil. Also, at that time, we were exporting oil unlike anybody else, producing and exporting oil, and our labor rates were, decent. But unions over time jacked our labor rates so high that we lost competitiveness. A lot of other countries came in and took a big chunk out of us. we could reclaim a lot of that if we worked on it, if we restructured our tax systems to to favor American manufacturing. That's what tariffs do. It might cause a little inflation in prices, but I tell you, I was just in Walmart today, and those big screen TVs cost the same they did months ago. Now, they might go up, but do you really need that stuff? Do you really need to be buying stuff from a country that's going to take the profits from it and arm themselves to turn around and shoot you back with it? Seriously, a country that brings in bio agents into our country, that sets up biolabs in Reedley, California, and God knows where else, that hacks everything we got, and they use the profits and they turn them around against us, and they steal from us. They steal intellectual property, and so that's not competitive trade. That is economic slaughter against the United States. And we've stood for it for too long. It's time to stand up to some of that. It's time to have a little backbone. Yeah, we may have to pay a little bit for it up front, but in the long term, if we can return manufacturing home, we can see our economy grow. There's only two ways out of our current debt structure. One, go bankrupt. And the way we're heading, that's what's going to happen. And then there won't be all these social benefits and all these things everybody's wanting. It's all going to go crashing. The other way is to grow the heck out of the economy. And the really only way to grow the heck out of the economy, it's not through entertainment industry. It's going to be through manufacturing. We're going to have to manufacture again. We need it for our own defense. We can't defend ourselves if we have to buy everything from overseas, including from our enemies. We've got to produce it right here at home, especially our critical stuff, and do it in scale. If we don't have the labor to do it, then maybe we should import some labor. And robotics will play a key. A lot of people think AI and robotics are going to replace all the workers in America. I don't see that, because if we really expand our economy, and if we invest in that kind of technologies to grow our industry again, we can be on another economic boom. We shouldn't have to borrow against our future the way they did in World War II. But it paid off in World War II because we were the only ones standing, and we were the world's producers. And suddenly we had a consumer economy, the first time ever. Big time was consumer economy. It wasn't Roosevelt's socialism that led to that economic revolution. It was investment in industry. And the debt was paid off because we were so productive. You could do the same thing with robotics. I did an example over on Green Greg talking about how China could heavily roboticize and pay for it all against their current economic malaise, against their whole downfalling system, pay for it all, how they could finance and pay for it all in their current system, and how it would make them uber rich. We could do the same thing right here. Same thing right here. But still, we need to, there's going to be the big companies. BlackRock isn't going to go away. Amazon isn't going to go away. Walmart isn't going to go away. But we need to start finding ways around that. We got to start supporting our local farmers, our local shops, our local industries. And I've got a way to do that. I'll be unveiling that to you guys soon. A way to buy American products that are healthy, safe, sound, unlike this junk we're getting out of Walmart full of contaminants, because they don't care. They discovered that they save money. It's cheaper to pay the lawsuits than it is to make the products safe in the first place. That's their philosophy. They'd rather just deal with the lawsuits. It's to heck with the consumers, and that's an awful thing. So I'm going to take action on that. I'm going to bring forward some plans for that in the near future. Plus, we need to revitalize this Freedom Restoration Foundation, and it needs to include things. We still got to preserve our freedoms, and all these, whether you go to corporatism or socialism, communism, they all steal your freedoms. That's what we don't need. We need to maintain our freedoms. We need to maintain who we are as a society. Now, New York City is going to be in trouble because people are going to be leaving. There's going to be a flight of capital. The capital, the capital of capital in the world is just had its mayor go socialist. The capital of free enterprise, capitalism, just got co-opted by a socialist. Now, if that don't give you some scare, they want to take this and export it to the rest of America. They think they have a message that will sell. A lot of young people are looking for answers because they're living in a world where they can't afford their homes. House prices have gone out the ceiling. Yeah, and they can't compete with BlackRock. The American dream is eluding them. I got an idea for that, my universal habitat concept. Maybe we need to work together as communities like the old timers did, house raising. But we got so darn many standards in all these communities, so many permit requirements. It's insane. Some of that needs to be knocked out. So we need to fight City Hall too. And we need to make some changes so we can do things the way that used to be done to make things more affordable. You know, cars are crazy expensive because of all the stuff implied on them too. There's no reason a brand new car ought to be $50,000. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Of course, they would love to have a fleet of robo cars that, you just call them up whenever you want them and you don't have a car of your own. And maybe that would be fine for people living in the city, but for people outside the city, that's not a great thing, you know, especially if you're way out in the boondocks like me. Yeah, it's real convenient. It's only 9 miles to the nearest convenience store, the nearest store of any kind. Only 9 miles away. Uh, yeah, I don't think a robo taxi would even make it down the road to my place without crashing and burning. My road's a little rough. It's a trail road. So, yeah, I can't see a Tesla getting down my road, robo Tesla. And what else? You get in that robo car and suddenly you've committed some social, I don't know, your social credit score went awry and you said something that the powers that be don't like. Suddenly the door's locked and you're on the way to the Who's Gal. Is that the kind of society we want? No, no. This whole idea you own nothing means they own you. That's what it boils down to. They own you. Is that what you want? I mean, look at Russia under Stalin. Stalin owned everything in a sense. Mao Zedong, he owned China. Kim Jong Un, he owns North Korea. Is he starving? Is Kim? Everybody in North Korea is starving except Kim Jong Un. You could roll him around. If he fell over, he'd roll like a bowling ball. You know, he's got women hanging all over him. Everything he wants, he's got it. Snap of a finger. What more could he ask for? He owns the whole country. And he runs them by fear. Mullen tea. Yeah, I don't even know where to get Mullen right now. Guys, I don't know. I'd have to go all the way up to Shola to find an herb shop. That's an hour's drive away. I am recovering, believe it or not. But my voice does sound like a gravel truck, so I apologize. But, it is what it is. So I'm trying to bring you guys the skinny on this so you'll understand that they want to export this. But, this comes from the elite. Socialism never starts at the sweatshops. Communism never starts in the factories like Marx said it would. It didn't start in industrialized societies, started in some of the poorer societies, but it was always led by the academics because it's theory. Like I said, in theory, it sounds good. In this country, it's led by the universities and funded by the uber rich who have a greater design for all this. If you don't think so, just go ask Klaus Schlauber wherever he's retired at, snickering off in the distance. Or ask Larry Fink. Remember, he tried to press all these companies. He got his fingers in so many companies everywhere. Then he told them all to have those, I don't even want to say it on here, those what shows where the kids are invited. Yeah, the whatever hour, I don't even want to say it. It's too loaded to talk about. But anyway, he even forced Tractor Supply, and Tractor Supply later backed out of it. But yowks. The companies that were the customers want nothing to do with that kind of stuff. So because he owned too much share in them, to be honest, and he controlled the money going into them. And but then he suddenly like backed off and changed his tone when people overturned the tables against that kind of stuff. Suddenly he stopped talking about that and he went into Bitcoin, but now he's dumped a bunch of Bitcoin. So yeah, what's he aiming for? What's he trying to establish? I wouldn't trust him no more than I could throw an elephant. That's how far I trust Larry Fink. He may change his song for a little bit just to satisfy everybody. But look where he's at right now, running the world economic for him. He's still running BlackRock. What's BlackRock doing? They're wholesale buying houses. So what's going to happen in New York City? Oh yeah, what's those free bus rides is that Mamdani promised everybody? Free to who? Who's paying for it? He's going to tax the heck out of people. And what's that going to happen? People are going to be fleeing New York City. The people with money, are they going to stick around for those high taxes? No, they're going to Florida and Texas and other places. That's what they'll do. As many as can, capital flees when they see things, when they get that kind of stress put on them. Why should they put up with it? If the United States went that way, they'd go somewhere else. That's what they'll do. They'll find a haven somewhere. But what's going to be left in New York City? Oh, rent. Rent's a big issue. Yeah, rent is too high. Rent is too high. That's because there isn't proper. If the rent is too high, it means your competitive market isn't good. If it's a market where there is profit to be made, then other people should be getting in the market. The competition must not be there. But maybe that's because BlackRock. But now you got two kind of landlords. You got BlackRock and ilk like them, which are in a class of their own, and then you got just the regular people who buy houses and apartments. The idea they'll rent them out, fix them up, and rent them out, and make a little money. I had a friend that did that. He bought 5 houses, thought he was going to make some money. And then he had this one renter that never would pay rent. Took him over a year to get him out of the house. Well, he wound up losing everything over it because he still had to pay the mortgage. So, most of these businesses actually operate on a small margin. When they run into stuff like that, or when they get government requirements on them to freeze prices, what are they going to do? They're going to quit upgrading. The upkeep is going to fall down. What's going to happen is New York's going to turn into a slum. Now, for the ilks of Larry Fink, they don't care. Slums, they love that. They'll be just happy if all their properties turn into slums. Because people are still going to rent them. They still got to have them. They won't maintain them either. But what will happen is more houses will be going up for sale, and they'll be grabbing more and more. They're taking more land, more houses. And this whole thing about running small farmers out of business, they want to run it all to big corporate farms. And big corporate farms are going to ply their lands with all kind of poisons, pesticides, herbicides, and the stuff you're going to be consuming. That's why you really need to go to your farmer's market and support your local farmer for the stuff you're not growing yourself as much as you can. There's sometimes you'll be going to big box stores because that's the only place left to go for some things. Sometimes you'll be going to Amazon, but we need to find other ways around this, and that's some of the things I'll be trying to bring to you soon. So I'm working on it. So just stay tuned for that. But New York is let's see, if anybody thinks New York City is going to be better off 2 years, 3 years from now, how long does the mayor last? 4 years? Let's say 3 years from now. If you think New York City would be better off in 3 years, put a 1 in the chat room. If you think it's going to be worse off, put a 2 in the chat room. Let's see what you guys think about it. Because I'm really wondering. Well, I don't see this going and having a happy ending. But it might be the uber rich will prop it up just to prop up the propaganda, to push it out, to try to make this thing metastasize. That's what they wanted to do. They want it to metastasize. They want it to spread across the United States. This is what they want. seeing a lot of twos. I haven't seen any ones yet. When you run off the producers, when you run off the investors, when you run these people off, you're basically killing the goose that lays the golden egg. The big apple's now the red apple, and it's going to be rotten to the core. It's going to be, it looks like it's going to be heading to slums. This is a big concern that people need to really watch out for. Yeah, I don't know how much more I'm going to talk tonight. I could talk a lot more. There's a lot to be said. Well, a lot to be said. I just don't know how much more saying I can do tonight. We may have to continue this at some point in the near future, or maybe I just kind of back down here a little bit and go into the chat room. My friends, these are hard times we're looking at. But part of it is the young people voted for, at least the young guys voted for Donald Trump in droves. Well, it made me because he was loud and he was talking change, and they were looking for change. The change hasn't come fast enough for them. So they're looking elsewhere now. And socialism has been taught throughout our school systems. So they're pretty much in agreement with that kind of stuff. A lot of them are. So you and I need to go out and talk to them and try to bring them around where we can. But, you know, Donald Trump, he's got his good sides and his bad sides. I like that he is going to Chicago, going to Illinois and fighting their ban on the AR. I think that's a good thing. His crackdown on drugs coming in this country, I think that's a good thing. It's got to happen. The crackdown on the border is a good thing. I think tariffs are a good thing. Some of you may not agree with that. But, look, we're going to pay taxes one way or another. Why not structure it in such a way that it favors American jobs instead of sending everything overseas and funding our enemies? So there's more to it than that. I've talked about that in more length in the past, and I may go back into that topic more in the future. But on the downside, this whole business with him hobnobbing with Bill Gates and some of the elite he's hobnobbing with now, that worries me a lot, and it really makes me wonder. Also, this whole Epstein thing smells to high heaven. There's no way around it. It just smells to high heaven. I mean, I'd rather have Trump than anybody the Democrats put up any day. Don't get me wrong, but he needs to be held account to some standards too. So all that said is that we need to high desert of Arizona. That's where I'm at. Are you in high desert? All right, so but we got to make sure he don't. He would be all too agreeable to corporatism if we're not careful. So we need to stay true to our roots to make sure that it's freedom that reigns in this country as much as possible. And we can have a lot to do with that. But another downside now, hey, when he takes pot shots at people, it's kind of funny, because that was just so verboten for so long that to see somebody stand up with the guts he has to name calling, yeah, it's kind of a first grade, third grade or something like that. It's kind of funny to a point, but honestly, it does rub a lot of people raw. It rubs them wrong. It makes them really misunderstand the entire MAGA movement. It makes them really misunderstand what the conservative people really want in this country. And it is a fairness and justice, but not the way they perceive it. The fairness that they perceive is a dumbing down equality that puts us all in poverty, of even equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. There's a big difference. Quality of outcome means everybody's outcome drops dramatically. It always works that way. Equality of opportunity gives everybody a shot, and I believe everybody should have a shot, no matter where they come from. I went in the Army. I didn't have the GI Bill, though. I went in under the VEEP program, which meant I had to pay money in, and the government would match it and pay it back to me when I got out to go to college. I got a whopping $225 a month when I got out. Didn't sound so bad when I joined before Jimmy Carter's double-digit inflation hit. By the time I got out of the Army, that was pitifully low. Pitifully low. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, but because I was contributing money to the VEEP program, I didn't qualify for any food stamps or SNAP. I was a PFC with a wife and a kid. And I was watching sergeants with a wife and a kid draw food stamps, and I couldn't get them. You know what? I survived. I did just fine. It was meager. I had a budget, but we got by. Where people making more money was doing this. I'd go to the grocery stores and I would see a woman and women. That's it over and over and over and over. Pull up the grocery counter with two giant carts loaded down with meats that I still don't buy today because I still can't afford that. Even working as an engineer, it's just absurd spending on food. I would see them dressed in fine clothing, rings all over, just rings all over their fingers, all kind of jewels, necklaces. And I'd always watch to see what they drove off in it. It seemed like it was always a new car, something far better than I had. And, that just kind of miffed me right there. I knew that system needed a lot of reform. And what I've seen in later years really underscored that to me. It's the everyday experience. When I was working in the Army, I was a socialist before I went in the Army. The Army taught me better because I saw how government actually operates. What's Mamdani say? He says, there's no problem that big government can't solve. Well, he don't know jack diddle. Because in the government, no problem you can't solve. Or if you're the customer, you are the problem. Because when you go to somebody for a service to get something done, they're just going to look at you because they got no incentive to do what you need done. Very little. You've got a sudden urgent, you got to transfer somewhere, you got to do something, you need it pronto. The guy takes your file and puts it up in his inboxes. And when I get to it, your urgency is not my problem. That's what they'll tell you. And I've seen that over and over and over and over, and that would just frost me. That's the way it is when there's no incentive to produce. That's why government is so inefficient. Always is, always has been. Big government is even more inefficient. And where does it get its money? The private citizens out of your pockets. And if the government runs everything, it comes out of everybody's pockets, one way or another. The bigger the government, the more corrupt. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There should never be a world ruler. There should never be a world class, a world council that runs the entire world. That would be the scariest thing you could ever see. You want to become mind-numb ants with robot chips in you? That's what the WEF taught. I've already played the video clips on some of my channels where, the henchmen of the likes of Klaus, that's what they talk about. That's where all this goes. That's their ultimate dream. Turn what useless eaters they want to keep around for whatever entertainment they want to keep you into mind-numb robots. A lot of people just don't see this. That's the real direction of it. It's evil. But most people think, oh, this is being good. It's helping people. Well, a lot of the people, now there are people that need help. Amen. Absolutely. There's also food banks, churches, and a lot of other ways to help people. Food banks, even in small Snowflake, they got 2 or 3 food banks and just Snowflake. There's only 6,000 people. And a lot of people go there and they get, I knew people in Huntsville went to food banks. The North Alabama Food Bank is run by some friends of mine. They give out a lot of food. I know people that go there get all their food from there. So, there are other solutions, guys. But some people do need help. Those that need it, let's do what we can to help them. I'm not against that. I donated money to individuals who were in need directly. I got no problem with that. But, to have somebody through the force of government with a barrel to your head take from your pocket and run it through an inefficient government system to redistribute it, that's not the most efficient way to do it. Not by a long shot. especially when they got a lot of political agendas in it to basically increase voters. So they bring in people from other countries and put them on it to entice them to come here and stay here. So they can flip the votes, flip districts, so they can advance their socialist agendas. That's what I'm worried about right there more than anything. I hope we get the shutdown solved. It needs to be solved. But it's being held out. Why? Because they want to give illegal aliens health care. Why? Because they want to keep them here. Why? So they want them to vote for them. But, they also, fight to keep the gang members here. And you look at when they're going around trying to get these gang members out, and they're out there protesting, trying to stop it. But I think that side is destined to lose if we can just shine the light of day on it. Because I think, open discussion. See, they don't want open discussion. That's why Charlie Kirk isn't with us anymore. Open dialogue. If your way of thinking can't survive open dialogue, then it's bankrupt from the start. So I'm going to have open dialogue. And I hope that other people will be more open to dialogue. We've got to have that. But bottom line, though, is we got to find a way to reach out to these young people. We do need to find ways to help them up, because we do live in a society today where they can't afford the house. They're not having kids. They're not getting married because they really can't afford to. So, there are economic challenges. We got to find a way to break through these challenges and help them out. We got to find a way. Now, a lot of them overinvested in college, and we got a lot more college graduates than we need. A lot of them don't want to get their hands dirty and work in the trades. You know what? I grew up on a farm. I had my hands dirty. When I got out of working on a farm, I worked in a chicken plant, hanging live chickens. That was the nastiest dang job in the world. It made digging ditches and foxholes in the army look like a church picnic compared to hanging live chickens. I also worked in a cotton mill before I went in the army for a year. And when I got out of the army, because it cost me more money to get home, and I thought I went working in the cotton mill for another year. It's not a unionized shop, by the way. I've done real labor. And, even when I was going to college, I was working. And I wasn't making much money. I had a wife and 2 kids. And, I was, even when I was co-oping, I wasn't making about $10,000 a year. It's that. And I was paying for college. I paid my own way through college. It took me 11 years. But I'm gonna tell you what frosted me. After I studied day and night. Engineering degree is not easy. I studied day and night. That's where I got this loss of not sleeping habit. It was going to college and working. I studied day and night, day and night. Everywhere I went, I was studying. I didn't have any leisure time. It was all I did was study. I hit the books, hit the books, hit the books, hit the books, hit the books. But you know what? When I took my first job out of college, I walked into this Chrysler plant. We had union guys there in the plant, and those guys were making some kids right out of high school just because they knew somebody and got hired into the union straight out of high school, making 4 times the money I was making after I struggled so darn hard for so many years. That made me mad. I'll be honest. That made me mad. So why do they deserve that? And, so a lot of people laud unions. Well, that's why the Rust Belt's rusty. They overreached. They overreached. You got to be competitive. They overreached. Just to be honest. I think people ought to get a fair wage. A lot of people might not be happy with what I'm saying, but this is experience talking. It's not theory. It's not the elite theoretical sitting on an ivory tower looking at good ideas. I've been through it. I've been through the ringer. I've learned a lot of hard lessons. 65-year-old, and experience is my PhD. That's where I got. Yeah, I got a bachelor's degree, graduated magna cum laude in electrical engineering, and I did it. Last couple of years, I was a single parent supporting 2 kids by myself going to school. So wasn't easy, but I did it. And I didn't do this from some big handout or inheritance or something from the family or some big government grant. I did it. And it's proof it can be done. You just got to be determined. I was determined. I was headstrong, and I worked my rear end off for it. But it can be done. And I'm living proof. Anyway, I've had a lot of adventures in my life, launching rockets and doing a lot of stuff. but I was too interested in trying to save mankind instead of my own finances, I guess. I let somebody get a hold of my stuff and mess me up. But anyway, that's another story. So there we are. There is socialism isn't going to work, but yet it's been preached. Our young people are looking for answers. They need help finding them. So that's what we got to work on. But we also got to work on keeping ourselves free. And we got to promote the locals, the American businesses and local businesses, made in America, clean products. So I'll be talking that more in the future. But Mamdani, Mamdani, how do you say his name? Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, he's clueless. You know, this guy grew up wealthy. He then went real fast in the government. You know, he's not had the kind of experience to understand the stuff he's talking about. And that's typical of your elites, the people that promote socialism. He thinks he's got all these answers. He's made a lot of tall promises. We'll see how that works out. Like I said, maybe the uber rich will try to find a way to prop New York City up so they can metastasize this and spread it across the country. But it's a tall order. I'm predicting it ain't gonna look too good in New York City, but still, I don't think that'll shake them. These people are so caught in their worldview of this. It's just hard to shake it. It's like a disease. It's like a disease they want to have. Scary. It's like the zombies. It's like this is the zombie apocalypse, but we gotta shine the light on it. That's the best way to deal with it. Shine the light on the falsehoods. And that's why y'all need to share my content. You need to go back and look at my older content on Green Gregs when I'm talking anti-communism, when I'm talking anti-socialism, when I'm talking pro-freedoms. I did several videos on that on Green Greg's channel. You need to find those, maybe a few on this channel, and share those videos out. Some of the old ones. I don't know, maybe hard to find them mixed in with all my other day-to-day news stuff, but it's in there. All right. So that's my rant for tonight. I'll go into the chat room and see how everybody's doing, and we'll try to wrap this up in a little bit. I gotta have another drink of water. This gravel truck in my throat's getting me. Anyway, whew. I'm gonna read the chat from the computer instead of my phone. I was marking on my phone. Oh, what happened? It just jumped out. Let's go back. I hate it when it does that. Go back to the beginning. Let me look at my phone and see if that's the beginning, because I want to jump out and go back. Sometimes I don't go to the beginning. No, it didn't go to the beginning. Doggone it. All right, Traveler, how you doing? John Baxter. Days, howdy. Days is a spectacular mod. She's been my mod who shares everything, shares links, and karate chops all trolls. My apologies for not speaking to her last time she was in here. But shame on me. All right, Arnold, good to see you. And Lori Jameson, how you doing? Good to see you. Lori, are you new? Free market capitalism. I can sell my cabbage without no state interfering. There you go. There you go. Rebellion. Yep. Deep function. The naughty Lemmy. I'll just say it backwards. All right there, Andy. Appreciate you calling for the thumbs up. Good to see you from down under. Andy sings, you're back in the house again. Good to see you already. Corporatism ain't too bad. Nationalism is government corporatism, and all the peoples have shares in a national corporation. Well, it depends on where the incentives are, my friend. But the problem is how corruption crawls into the system like that. You got to have so many checks and balances. Troy, your brother Greg teach us well. Some of us a lot, then sends me on a deeper research rabbit hole. Yeah, look your stuff up yourself. Do your research. I highly encourage that. Do your own research always. And that prepares you better to speak about things. Hey, I tell you a good source. Look at a lot of Ronald Reagan speeches. We are living in an anti-Christian world. You're right, Arnold. Create the environment for which we can have been conditioned to believe is normal. Oh yeah, we're in a world today where good is bad and bad is good. Wasn't that predicted? Wasn't that in the Bible? Well, just look where we're at today. Unbelievable, unbelievable the stuff that they've launched upon us. Yes, New Day's knows. You're right. Deep function 100,000 minus one. So whenever you hear any politician speak about an issue, remember that they are not your friend. That is true. That is so true. Don't promise anything, but they're looking out for themselves typically. John Baxter, the problem is it's never worked outside of anything maybe other than a tribal government. All communist societies failed. I mean, the theory sounds great, but you know, it goes against human nature. No system that goes against human nature ever works. You know, humans naturally are possessive. Humans naturally, if given no incentive, will be lazy or greedy. Capitalism finds a way to channel the greed into a greater productivity. America moved mountains when it moved for war, produced 4 full ships a day. Yes, wasn't that amazing? Now, that I agree with, John. That I agree with. It shows what America has done and could, if we did it before, we could do it again. We ought to be able to. We got more manpower. We just hadn't got the manufacturing because we outsourced everything. So when we got to reshore stuff. And that's really the only way out of the debt. The only way out of the debt is to grow the economy. And to grow the economy, we got to be a producer. It's either that or we're going bankrupt. And that's going to be devastating. Everything is going off the hook. Yeah, the watchman, that's the problem. But let's rehook it if we can. I don't never give up. Yes, deep function, that's part of the plan. They want to break us. That's really what it boils down. They really do want to break them, the West, the free world, especially countries like the United States, especially the what they refer to as flyover land, because it's where people believe in independence, believe in freedom. and independence and freedom flies in the face of the authoritarian systems they want to put in place. Balkanization could be coming, especially if we go into civil war. Soylent Greens, and now they're using hair to add to the shelf life of foods. Oh, gross. Are you serious? Guys, that's what I say. You don't want the big store product lines. There's all kind of nasty stuff going in. Oh yes, Cha Cha. Yeah, I'm actually better than I was. Wednesday night and Thursday was terrible for me. Thursday, I was out. It was a terrible day for me. Thank you, Cha Cha. Either you're in control or you're under control. Well, if you own nothing, got no privacy. That's what they said. You have no privacy. You don't own nothing, but you'll be happy. Oh, yeah, right. But see, what you got to realize, John, is all this has been orchestrated. John Baxter, this whole movement toward the socialism, communism, it's all being orchestrated by the same players, uber elites like Soros. Academic made the world we got now. Long live academia. Yeah, but somewhere they went off the rails with their evil liberalism. Josh, nice to see you again. Okay. They'll use AI to stamp us out. Well, if they would, if they can. Oh, yeah. The Watchman. Y'all got to remember, Trump put the statue of Albert Pike back up. I told you guys, don't put all your faith in one man. There's some things about him that's got me a little worried. Because there's some things he does that's good. But I still got my eye on him. Still got my eye on him. I took a lot of heat a few years ago on Green Regs. I put out a video and asked if he was all in reality a covert agent of the deep state. That's a whole nother topic. Maybe we need to get into that again one day. But he did. Albert Pike. That should scare your pants off. Absolutely. There's still the video where, oh, what the heck's it trying to do? Mamdani is Jewish. Was a Jewish mother. I don't know. Well, he's got Muslim roots. I don't know. These guys claim anything. We, a community of like minds, going to try to find an answer together. I believe John Baxter, we all need to work together and have some discussion about how to get through where we're at to a better future. Open dialogue. Some really strange stuff, The Watchmen. This shows there's a lot of shadows and the movements behind everything. Yes, Arnold, the devil is the master of deception. And y'all got to remember, there's this so-called deception coming that's so great that would even deceive the elect. And there's probably more than one that would fit that category, the way things are shaping up. And we could speculate a lot about what those deceptions are. I can think of a couple, maybe three potentials that fit that category. Maybe a topic for another video. drive in Russia will probably more likely send out a Poseidon anyway. I'll say soon, but I'm thinking one. Let's pray not. The Poseidon nuclear torpedo would be catastrophic. Catastrophic. That's that's the worst weapon ever devised, or ever. Well, maybe not devised. It's the worst weapon fielded. Uh, you don't. That's one reason not to live near a coastline. Somebody was trying to warn Hawaii girl about tsunamis. When you think about it, with all the naval bases in Hawaii, Poseidon nuclear torpedo, I wouldn't even want to be in Hawaii. Hawaii girls listening. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a coastline or a big city, to be honest. I keep thinking about the poem about the old lady and the snake. Hmm. All economic issues are, oops, trying to take actions as I'm trying to scroll. Based on fake money. Our money system's fiat. How do we come up with fiat money? They laid fiat money on us. They come out with a national bank that they claim wasn't a national bank, the Federal Reserve. At the same time, they come up with a tax system. They did it all in 1913. It was all devised secretly on Jekyll Island, Georgia. Well, it really fits the name, right? And that was the, you know, biggest coup against our country we've ever had, in my humble opinion. Never gonna get good leaders in a perverse society. Whoo! Well, there are some that aren't perverse. Let's hope we can turn things around. Charlie Kirk was trying. So we just need more people out spreading good word, shining the light, and love. The hatred is going to do us in. Plant guy. You got some hair with the name Plant guy? Yeah. Hey, what would you look at that? I made it. Howdy, everyone. Hey, hey, the plant guy. The one plant guy. Good to see you. 70s were tough worldwide. Yeah, that's when our great economic miracle slowed down and other countries started taking chunks out of us. The Lord is my shepherd. There you go. Yep, Arnold. All consuming jaws. Well, that's a heck of a name. Micah. Both hands are skilled doing evil. Yeah, there's plenty of them left and right, to be honest. I'm conservative, but and I do believe in that each country's got to look after its own. That's why I think America First is a good thing because we $38 trillion in debt. We've thrown our money everywhere. We got to put our house in order. To have skilled hands is a blessing. Amen, John. I'd say she shouldn't have had too many babies. It shows her ignorance, lack of compassion, and empathy for the fellow man and woman. 10 kids. But I like to say that she shouldn't have had too many babies. What are we talking about? Love, a while ago when I was younger, I used to go to the host store and pick up almost expired bread, potatoes. Oh, yeah, minced garlic. There you go. Remember correctly when Trump was running, he said we need more children. We need more babies. We need America to make more babies. Well, our country, our demographics are dropping. We do need to return to having more kids, honestly. But we need to give them hope. And restoring our economy is how we do it. And that's why we need to reindustrialize. So we got more options for jobs. Yeah, a lot of it's going to have to be handled robotically because I don't think we have enough people to do what we need to do. But I don't think the robots can handle everything they claim they can either, nor AI. I think it's oversold. Matthew 10:22. All men will hate you because of me. There's a lot of that going around. Philanthropic society is more given instead of take. Well, the problem is the way they've set it up, it becomes take. Remember that? Maybe you don't remember. I played a video the other day where this guy was talking about SNAP and he was raging. He says, American taxpayer works for me. He says, I'm not going to work. He was totally able bodied guy. He says, I'm not going to work. The American taxpayer works for me. They owe me. For what? I was a single parent too. I worked and went to school and raised two kids. I'm not saying it's easy, but I did it. It's what a man does. A man takes care of his own. A man mans up, does what he's got to do. That's called being a man. If you're a male and you're not a man, you're a worm. Plain and simple. If you're a male, you're either a man or a worm. There ain't no in between. You know, what they call you in the army? Maggot. You're going to be a man or a maggot. Man up. Now, if you're disabled, that's, it's according to what you can do. That's different. But there's a lot of disabled people that accomplish a lot of amazing things. Look at Stephen Hawkins. Man can't even move. What a brilliant mind. What a brilliant mind. He can't even move. Mamdani. That's how I remembered it. Yep. Mamdani. Amen. I am under the weather. Yeah, I've been real sick. While the hard workers are busy creating a life for themselves, the vultures are watching. That's right, for what they can pilfer. Liberalism is really, a lot of the woke liberalism is rooted in envy. Envy. Some of them are telling, we got to break this inheritance stuff, inheritance. But what they're asking for will destroy the family farms. Because if you up the inheritance tax, the value of land has increased so much that a lot of the families can't afford to pass the farms down if the inheritance tax goes too high because you can't make enough money farming it. You cannot make enough money farming it to pay the inheritance tax on it. And so this can drive a lot of family farms out of business. If these family farms go out of business, you're going to be eating that poison crap from the big corporate farms. This is why I tell you to support your local farmers. Go to the farmers market. Do whatever you can. But I would say fight that. At least for the farmers and the small shop owners, but especially the farmers. They're a special case, and they're doing everything they can to attack the farmers, turning wolves loose, turning, you know, everything loose on them, mountain lions, tell them they can't defend their herds. Mm. Truth is, we got to help each other more. We do have to help each other. I agree with that. And there are a lot of mechanisms to do that. And churches and food banks do a lot. Like I said, I got good friends back in Alabama, in the North Alabama food bank. It's a huge food bank. They feed a lot of people. And they're very much into supporting organic gardening, big time. Like corruption, amen. That we got to do. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why you don't want big government. Or that's also the problem, corporatism. I've been watching since Worms. Just not saying, okay. Good to see you, Lori Jamison. Well, I'm going to try to make a deal where you don't get worms again soon. Oh, yeah, yeah. A lot of people just want to check a box, the watchman. Communism looks great on paper. It's no alternative. Yes, yes. Oh, on paper, in theory, it sounds great. Absolutely wonderful. When I was in high school, I was a communist. Once I understood it removed the incentive to produce, I thought, well, okay, maybe socialism. When I went in the army as a socialist, when I saw how government operated, that evaporated really fast, really fast. Real world caught up and taught me lessons really quick. And where I'm coming from is based on experience, based on real life, not based on theory that the elite tend to go to, the academia. I went to college, and the only professors that were worth 2 cents were the ones that taught part time. I'm serious. My engineering school, I graduated magna cum laude in electrical engineering from University of Alabama in Huntsville. The part-time professors were the only ones worth 2 cents because they knew what was actually being done in the real world and what the students needed to know and understand. The professional professors, they taught high-level theory. Everything was every little equation was derived by calculus. Oh yeah, they had all kinds of calculus in college. Calculus in and out all day long. I even competed on the university math team. I was good at it. The day I walked out of school, never used it again. Never needed it again because the real world's so different. They didn't teach me anything I needed in the real world. Nothing. I already knew the basics of electricity and before I even went to college. They didn't teach me jack diddle except how to study. We Too much theory. Too much theory. Yeah, it's a problem, Watchmen. They all get caught up in their little minutiae. Each denomination, their little minutiae, their little whatevers. God's bigger than all that. I'm gonna tell you, God's huge. The greater creator is far bigger than people give credit for. All American Prepper 13. Now, that's a good handle. And they all teach you if you don't believe their particular way, you're going to die and go to hell. Nah. We got something here called a goal. What is that? Remember living near Monument Avenue, Richmond, Virginia, thinking how beautiful it was, so much history up and down the avenue. They've stripped it down. Yeah, it's a shame. Erasing history, is it going to, you know, tearing monuments down, is it going to change the future? They should be left as reminders. Enoch was interesting. That was the sun rising in Britain. So you're in Britain, huh, John? Take a look at the video link on Mamdani. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Albert Pike's Peak. I don't think so. You need to look Albert Pike up, Arnold. We're talking about looking up. Okay, deep function. Twitter's not a safe space. It's probably better than it was, but yeah, it's got its limits. Well, I agree with scientific debate. I think China has cut us off, and Trump hasn't told the people no more loans on paper money. Conservative constitutionalist Mark Levine, go take a hike. Mark Levine's problem is he's a little bit too much in favor of another country over in the Mideast. He's big time. I would wager he'd probably favor Israel more than us. And you go back and look at the incident. I got to be careful what I talk about. Same name as the statue, ship, USS. What happened to it? So we better keep a watchful eye over there too. They're not really our friends as much as a lot of people think. They just voted every single tax levy up in my area. Oh, Watchman, that's terrible. Defo got agriculture. You got to grow your own stuff. Yep, we're on the, if we don't pick it up, we're going to fail. Just like Rome. And Europe's in worst case. It's worse in Europe because a lot of that had to do with immigration. Because when Rome fell, by the time they fell, most people in Rome weren't Romans anymore. If I can read this stuff fast enough to keep up, I'll just skip some. Y'all said a lot tonight. Y'all chatty tonight. The function is when you need to be producing your own food. Yeah, if they don't want to work, they want handouts. Like I showed videos where the guy said he's not going to work. Just flat out, I'm not going to work. Taxpayer worse than me. What makes him feel so entitled? By golly, I worked my way through. I didn't have such benefits. Global Kabbalism. Hey, Mr. Why Izzard? Word on the street. That's what I suspect. That is what I suspect. I also suspect the same entity you named has got a lot to do with Epstein. It's probably why things are still buried up. I have my own worms, 30 years in progress. Hey, that's great. All consuming jobs. You're at the top of the list. You're ahead. Only automated grow factors in communities find fresh food, people to doorstep. We'll see how that works out. Car factory. Car factory can grow corn. Uh, Poland thinks they're going to come after them. I don't know. That's a big step for Russia. That's a big, huge step. If they do that, it's World War III. Let's pray that's not the case. Of course, that's what Ukraine's going to say because they're trying to get Europe involved in the war more and more, in America too. Hello, brother. I1Z or ILZ. It was after the Great Depression. I've done videos on indoor farming. I grew microgreens indoors for years. So when I'm talking about indoor farming, that's not strange to me. I did it for years. It's got its ups and downs. I highly encourage people to grow broccoli microgreens, if nothing else, because this thing is so healthful. It's off the charts. I plan to get back in at least growing a little bit myself. The chat. Wow. There's sevens can eat. Well, Keynes had theories, but they weren't that great. It's wasn't his theories that really like I said, what got the United States economy rolling was the heavy investment in manufacturing. And we basically borrowed money to do it in order to finance World War II. But once World War II was over, we had this huge production capacity. And we turned into consumer manufacturing, consumer economy. And our economy boomed so well, the tax revenues from it were so huge, it paid off the debt. We were the only producer in the world at the time. We had a huge leg up. Golf course over Arlington. Or the cemetery? I hope not. Arlington was Robert E. Lee's. That's the point, John, but it is very energy intensive. It took a lot of energy to run my microgreens indoors. There are some downsides I don't talk about a lot. It is very energy intensive. You got to really engineer it to reduce the energy intensity of it. I don't miss the government at all. Let's get rid of it. Personally, I think the only government we should have is tribal councils. I'm serious. I don't think we should have any other government other than tribal councils, council of elders. You grow food for animals so we can eat the animals. Amen. Stand the foot. 1864. That was a rough year, at least down in my neck of the woods. I got my grow lights running, loads running. Yeah, I had grow lights too. Greens are essential. But there's a lot of people on pure carnivore diets that are doing really well. But you got to grow something to feed animals. It'll get so bad, Americans will be mashing up wheat with millstones. Could happen. Hey, I got a mortar and a pestle left over from whatever Indians live around here. I got a pestle and I got a mortar. Found out here in my place. Yeah, rabbits got loose and made a big mess. What's the word die mean to people who live in a paradise garden where there is absolutely no decay, enormous growth? Can you imagine a tree yielding fruit once a month instead of annually? Honestly, there are applications where genetic engineering makes sense, but the genetic engineering so far has been wholly so they could spray more chemicals on everything. That is awful. But if you could engineer annuals to grow on pre-annuals, like just sprout up from the stock, not just the root stock, but made from the stems and just shoot up and you back them off and harvest them, then you wouldn't have to plant everything every year. Imagine that. Or trees, but you'd have to control you need control the environment, not the seasons to have annual harvest, but you can do stuff in greenhouses. If you also increase the carbon dioxide content, you can increase crop productivity by something in the order of 20%, I believe. I've got the figures on that. I've cited them before. I was talking about my universal habitat and talking about my balloon habitat for Mars, I mean, for Venus. So, a friend of mine told me back in the 90s before they got him and took him out, he said genetic reconstruction is evolution and production. I hope they don't mess with people. That's the biggest thing. But China's already looking into it. China's already trying to engineer genetic super soldiers, and that's scary. They're already doing it. Already doing it. So they've been doing it. So that's something we got to pay a lot of attention to. Most people just aren't ready for what's coming. We just haven't wrapped our brain around it. That's why I've been bringing you all of this stuff our brain. Laura Jameson, I'm not new, Greg. Been watching. Yeah, okay, yeah. You've told me that. I see that. Appreciate it. Yeah, I started out talking worms and gardening. Somebody found out I ran a couple of power grid defense conferences, and when we talk about that a little bit, a ton of preppers joined my channel. I thought they wanted to know how to survive, so I started covering wild edibles and talking prepping a little bit. Nope, all they want some news, so that's why I started bringing you guys news. Essentials, potatoes, peas, and carrots, and cabbage. There you go. Hey, I grew a lot of squash out here. So I'm working trying to perfect growing three sisters in the desert. I got a little bit more work to do on that, but I grew a lot of squash and some pumpkins, quite a bit. So we've been on for over an hour. I think it's time forever. And I got chickens. Speaking of chickens, it's time for the egg guess. How many eggs did I harvest today? First person gets the right number wins. You win gratitude. A salute. All right, folks, somebody, y'all take a guess. How many eggs I get today? Got them right here beside me. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. 33, I wish. Keep guessing. All right, Cha-Cha, you got it too. Cha-Cha, salute Cha-Cha. Two. Cha-Cha was the first one that said two. And there they are. Oh, still got a little feather on it. That's the two eggs I got today. So straight from my hands today. At 5 yesterday, 2 today. Varies quite a bit. Yeah, rabbit. Yeah, I've had rabbits before. So I'll plan to get rabbits again. Not do this to future. Rabbits and worms go real well together because worms love rabbit poop more than anything. 2 eggs. Cha-cha. Salute you. You got it. Uh, mm. Anyway, this will be our live session for tonight. 38 trillion in debt isn't winning. We are in debt to the rest of the world. Yeah. There's only 2 ways out: bankruptcy, and Japan's not recovered from their debt. They're total economic malaise. Bankruptcy and grow the economy. There's only one way to grow the economy: manufacturing. Yeah, we have to produce, and that's why I'm in favor of test. Wow, we got a super chat tonight. Salute! Wow, I thought we weren't gonna get one. Jay Money donated the money, $10. Congratulations, Chuck. Well done. All right, salute you. Appreciate that. I just did 2 live sessions on Green Gregs and a premiere on Galactic Gregs, no super chats. So that's much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you. Forgive us our debts as we forgive them indebted to us. Yeah, it would have been nice if we had jubilees. That's one thing that the Hebrew Society probably got right. Debt forgiveness ever, 50 years? But you can bet the debt masters aren't going to allow that. You have a mail address to send you stuff. Uh, yeah, if you want to send me something, you got to send it to a box up in Sholo. It'll be box. That'll be 650 North Penrod Road. I'll type it in. It ain't where I live. Like, nothing comes where I live. It's an hour's drive away. Oh, it's more water. Yeah, we got room 57. Okay. Weather report. Uh, I didn't pull up the weather channels today. Let's see. We could do uh, I was having problems with my weather app last time I used it. I could do earthquakes and space weather. I quit going to the weather app I used because it was flaking out on me. I got to go to Chewy to get some good weather apps put in here. He turned me on to some, and I've changed computers, and I've kind of lost track of some things here. Um, to do weather.com. Well, I don't know the name of it. Used to always show weather, but I can't even remember the name of the silly app I used to use all the time. Quit using it because it was causing me problems. I wasn't acting right. Uh, something else. Yeah, there's cold wave hitting the east, that's for sure. That's not hitting where I'm at. Um, it's getting below freezing here tonight. Yeah, we do need to look at sunspots. Well, that thing is aiming right at us. All right, so let's go in real quick and look at the. Yeah, I need to check my email too. Allow us to share. Let's start with earthquakes. See if I can blow this up a little bit more. When the Fuca plate's active, it looks like it's near Yellowstone. Mammoth, Wyoming. Kamchatka still rocking, but not as heavy as it was. Ooh, fell Japan. 5.6. They got a bigger one. That's an aftershock. And I click on that one. 6.8. Yamamata, however they pronounce that. They got a 4.5 there. That's pretty nasty. Blair, India, 5.5. Toga, 5.0. Yeah, Japan's rocking right now, folks. Puerto Ricans are busy dancing tonight. Look at all the earthquakes down there. 3.3s, 3.4s. All right, let's go over here and look at the Let's see what we can pull up on this. Tempe, Arizona. I'm not in Tempe, Arizona. I don't know this. I'm gonna have to work to get the weather stuff coming back, guys. Is that current? I don't think that's current temperatures. It's a forecast. Yikes. Let's see. Will that play? Yeah, you got a big deep freeze in the east right now. Actually, we'll be dropping the freezing here tonight, but not as cold as it is out east. I don't know. I'm gonna have to work on that, guys. I've got to come back up with the app I was using or find a better app. I'll have to lay on cheery weather for that. Now look here at the sunspots, man. Big angry sunspot facing Earth. This should be a warning, guys, right here. That sunspot threw out crazy, enormous flares when it's on the other side of the sun. Let's hope and pray it don't happen right now because it's cocked and aimed right at us. And it's got twisted fields, which could unleash a major CME. The aurora activity is not that big right now. This wouldn't come up last night when I tried it. Last night when I clicked on it, it wouldn't come up. And three Atlas got more unusual tails, guys. Anti-tails, bunch of them. Got one, two, three, four, five strange tails all around it. Mm-mm-mm. But they're not big tails like we'd expect to see. But that's mainly because the tails main tail may be behind it, because it's almost looking at us through the sun. So that could be an explanation for that. Anyway, well, last night I looked at this and there was nothing to worry about. But I always told y'all that they always see them after they come by. There was nothing red, nothing coming by close when we looked this last night. Now we're looking at it, and now it's already the ninth. But on the 8th, we had one come in halfway between us and our geosynchronous satellites, 1/10 of a lunar distance away. I tell you, these things always slip in through the past. Fortunately, it's only 9 meters in size. I saw a big meteor. It looked like it's going to the ground near where I'm at now when I was up the road coming home tonight. Anyway, we've got a 70% chance of M-class flare in the next 24 and 48 hours, 20% chance of X-class flares in the same time frame. That's a 1 in 5. If that thing unleashes on us, it could be a bad day, and it could be any time. Active sunspot 4274 facing Earth. Very unstable depth class magnetic field. It's a threat for powerful X-class solar flares. Did it on the other side of the sun. Let's hope it don't happen now. All right. Guys, well, I got to call it a night. I'm bushed. I got to get in bed and get up. It's already 2 in the morning here, and it's going to take me another hour to get in the sack. And I got people coming in the morning. So, yeah. Uh, let me go in here real quick. See if anybody's. Sometimes we get somebody like Kim Possible, may not be chatting because she's working. If she sent a donation, I want to give her credit. Because if she's logged in, she's prone to do that, whether we know she's here or not. So let's just check real quick. Give me a second. Pull that up. Let's give credit where credit's due. Yikes. Oh, we did get something. No, that's Defy the Grid. Somebody bought from Goldbacks. Okay. Very good. Uh, yeah. If you go to defythegrid.com, you can get these. This fungible amount of gold. 1/1000th. This is whatever the number is there. It's that many thousandths of a troy ounce. This is 1/1000th, which means it's a very easy to handle amount of gold that you can barter easily for small items. So you can get them at defythegrid.com. They operate on a 3 or 4% margin that gives them the ability to tell you if you can find a better price anywhere else on meter to beat it. Nobody says that. If you use discount code GreenGregs, you get 1% off. All right, my friends, what was the last thing said in chat here? Let's go back real quick. And chat room. Space Odyssey 2010. Yeah, I got some stories about that. Yeah. Oh, Dire Straits, brother, worse than war in Argentina. Hmm. Money for nothing and chicks for free. That's what I remember from Dire Straits. I want to be on MTV. Not really, but it's a funny song. Well, there's special purpose for having people up there, John. We got our eggs in one basket. We need to get them out of it here on Earth. Alrighty, folks. Let's call it a night. About that. Let's call it a night. So we've been on here for 101 minutes. It's plenty long. So um, I very much want to thank Mr. J Money 25. Let's see if I get it right. Yeah, J Money 2568. J Money 2568. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. Thank you, mods, for keeping the room clean. And thank you everyone for watching. Please share my videos. You know, we gotta bring the world around to a new way of thinking. So go back and find my old videos where I'm talking about freedom, where I'm talking about the failings of communism and socialism, the values of freedom. I do a lot of that. I did a lot of the videos on that on Green Grace. Maybe a few here on this channel. So share those. Share this video. Share it far and wide, social media, and go in and please give me some thumbs up and go in after I post a video and say something in the comment section below and comment somebody else's comment, like somebody else's comment. All that activity helps with the algorithms that have no rhythm. Hey, did you watch Canadian Prepper video on the arson? No, I didn't see that. Oh, Aaron Essie. Is he the one talking about when everything fails? But what it's like, I saw a title and see the guy was talking about societal collapse. I've talked to a lot of people that's been in that kind of situation. So I've heard a lot about that. A lot. My friend, General Ken Krosniak, who I've had on Green Greg's channel interviewed a few times, he saw that stuff in former Yugoslavia, Serbia. It was really bad over there, really bad. Guys, I got to go. Yeah, I got to go, guys. I really do. So again, thank you one and all for watching. Again, share my stuff. Thank you all for being here from the bottom of my heart. And please share. So to one and all, have a good day, good night, wherever you are. And with that, I'm going to say